news that has come out and surfaced. And that is that, and I believe this was Katie Wu with The Athletic in a piece, what I'm hearing about the Cardinals trade deadline. Mozeliak listening on relievers, but buried in that article, she talks about how multiple teams have inquired about all-star infielder Brendan Donovan. Brendan Donovan also plays the outfield. Brendan Donovan has played 18 games in left field this year. That's important to remember. Now, with the news that is actually just broken, that the Toronto... I don't know why I just started to say Toronto Blue Jays. With the news that... I'm wishfully thinking that the Blue Jays would make a trade. With the news that is just broken that the New York Yankees have traded for Ahmed Rosario, I wonder if that takes them out of the equation for Brendan Donovan. Obviously, Brendan Donovan is a far superior player than Ahmed Rosario, but maybe the asking price is too great here, and the New York Yankees needed to get something. That's where I'm at. I'm not going to say it completely removes them from the equation, but it might. But what we are hearing from Katie Wu is that the Yankees and Dodgers are known to have interest. Both the Dodgers and Yankees were after Tommy Edman last year. Brendan Donovan's kind of similar. Utility player, all over the place, middle infield, outfield. You can place him anywhere. A solid bat. We take a look at his numbers this year. You see a 788 OPS, the batting average, the on-base percentage, the slugging, all trending up year over year. This is a good hitter. And if you care about batting average, he's hitting at 293 right now, which is pretty good. In his baseball savant metrics, I love the plate approach metrics. My chase, my whiff, my K, and my walk. My walk rate, right at league average. I'll take that. I'd like it to be above league average, but we're at least at league average. Chase rate is 14 points above league average, but he doesn't swing and miss, and he doesn't strike out. I like it. These are quality elements. This is what you want. These are the kind of bats you want in your lineup in October. As you're trying to grind out series, you're trying to grind out games, you're trying to grind out pitchers, you're trying to grind out at-bats. Narrow it down, get as macro, micro as you can. Brendan Donovan is a nice addition to a team. And on top of it, you get 2 more years of Brendan Donovan, which probably takes the asking price to a very high level, because this St. Louis Cardinals team isn't looking to go bury their head in the sand for the next couple of years. This St. Louis Cardinals team is going to be interested in competing again next season. And I don't think they're going to go away. Now, they have a very interesting path to competing next season, which maybe it leads them to consider this. But the return has to be right. It has to be a return, I would think, that helps them next year. Maybe we're looking for pitching in return. A lot of these position players so far, the Ryan McMahon trade, the Ahmed Rosario trade that just went down, the Josh Naylor trade that went down, it's pitching. Pitching prospects are headed back in return for these bats. That's what teams want in return. I got to think that's what the Cardinals want too. They're going to want pitching back in return for Brendan Donovan. And it's going to cost a lot because there are those 2 more years of control. But again, we're thinking about Dodgers. We're thinking about Yankees. Again, this Ahmed Rosario trade, does it take the Yankees down a notch in their aggressiveness, in their pursuit? It might. But we don't know that for sure because obviously Brendan Donovan is on a different tier than Ahmed Rosario. The Dodgers, though. This is interesting. So DodgerBlue.com. Dodgers trade deadline rumors, search for an outfield. Prior to the bullpen becoming a glaring need for the LA Dodgers at the trade deadline this year, they're also said to be in search of a left-handed hitting position player to bolster the bench. Specifically, outfield. In this article, went on to talk about Michael Conforto and his disappointment in the 2025 season. So we think about options for the Dodgers and their current situation. I mean, Max Muncy is going to be back at some point. So we kind of get away from the third base market. We get away from Nolan Arenado. We get away from anybody else linked there. Key Brian Hayes, that's not going to happen. Anything like that. So we really kind of go to the outfield. And there's the big additions. There's the Jarren Durans, there's the Brendan Donovan, there's the Steven Kwans. Now, if the Red Sox turn down Dylan Cease and Ethan Salas for Jarren Duran, and again, that is before the Mayer injury, I don't know what you're going to have to give up at this point to get Jarren Duran. Brendan Donovan may be the most realistic piece here. Steven Kwan also has 2 more years of control. Another guy that is impossible to strike out. It's a great addition for a team. If you are the Dodgers and you're looking to make an October run, I want guys that are going to grind out at bats, get those pitch counts up, force pitchers out of the game early because, oh crap, they just had a 13-pitch at bat to my shortstop who drew a walk. You know what I'm talking about, right? You know what I'm talking about. Toronto fans, you know what I'm talking about, right? So you want those kinds of guys that can put forth those kinds of at-bats. Let's also consider the maybe easier to get options. The Ryan O'Hearn, the Cedric Mullins, those two will be rentals, so they'll maybe be a little bit less in terms of the prospect capital. But I'm interested in Willie Castro as an option, especially if the Dodgers are considering Brendan Donovan. Willie Castro is a very interesting fallback if the Brendan Donovan thing doesn't happen. Very similar in terms of the versatility. Willie Castro's bat this year is playing very well as well. So there is, I actually think if I'm putting all 6 of these players in the grinder for the Dodgers, I would say Willie Castro would be a perfect addition. Can play all over the place. The bat is playing well. I would think that's your fit. Let's talk about the New York Yankees for just a moment, who, again, just pulled off that trade for Ahmed Rosario. Judge going to the IL. It's an elbow flexor strain. No tear in the UCL. Here's what's interesting. Think about this. This is complicated. When he comes back, he's going to DH. Okay. They already have a DH. They have a DH who makes a lot of money. They have a DH who they kind of have to play. What do you do if you are the New York Yankees and Aaron Judge has to DH and Giancarlo Stanton has to DH? What do you do? This is a impossible scenario for the New York Yankees to try to navigate. I mean, you play Judge. The spoiler, you play Judge. But there is such a microscope over this team and their defense. They have more errors in the last month than anybody who's ever played the baseball in the history of the planet and any other planets with known life. Their defense has been that bad. Even the aliens with suction cups on planets that can grab a ball. Still, this is a scenario where you have 2 guys that have to DH. What do you do? What do you do with Giancarlo Stanton? Can you? I got to look it up. What is Stanton's contract? Because do you eat that? Try to get a pitcher back? I know Stanton's contract starts to go down, but when does it start to go down? Not soon enough. Not soon enough, Yankee fans. That is a real problem. Stanton plays right, but the problem is he can't play right. That's the problem. And when you think about the Yankees outfield, what they put out there tonight is what you want to have in October. Bellinger in right, Grisham in center, Dominguez in left. That's your outfield. That's your October outfield. Seriously, where are my Yankee fans? What do you do with Giancarlo Stanton? Stanton for a Severino swap. I actually don't think the A's have a DH spot open. I think the A's need the DH spot. That doesn't work. Just from that perspective, Matt. Just from that perspective, I don't think it works. I don't know. Let's take a look. What are the bad... Again, what I'm thinking about isn't other... is bad pitching contracts. Worst starting pitching contracts in baseball. Let's try to find the Giancarlo Stanton trade partner here. Padres fans, any Padre fans in here? Would you trade Yu Darvish for Giancarlo Stanton? There's $108 million on the books. There's my first one. There's my first pitching contract that looks bad. Yu Darvish. He's got $108 million. $108 million contract through 2028. The AAV is $18 million. If you're the Yankees, would you do that? I think you would do that. I think that's a deal. I think that's a trade. I think that's a thing. Yu Darvish for Giancarlo Stanton. Who says no? All right, there's one. Let me try to find another one. Erod. There's your Erod. $80 million, $20 million AAV, and it's through 2028. Erod is another one. If I'm the Yankees and I get to pick, I probably want the Darvish deal. I think I would rather have Darvish. All right, let's keep going. We're going to start running out of names because the contracts aren't going to be high enough anymore. The Severino one is interesting, but again, I don't think the A's have a DH spot either. I don't think that they have a spot to play him. The San Diego one is interesting though. I think that's it. It's really... So those are your top contracts for starting pitchers when you're trying to find the guy that could be the bad money. I got Yu Darvish, who's got an AAV of $18 million through the 2028 season. That's not great. And Erod was the other one, who's got an AAV of